How do you feel about this?
Very honoured.
Yeah?
It's actually quite surprising to think that Johnny Fay and I have received an award on the same night, because you might have noticed, on the photos are up there, I appeared in two of Johnny's photos and he's appeared in one of my photos.
The synergy is beautiful. Now, you've worn a lot of hats in terms of equestrian positions over the year. Is there anything that has been most rewarding?
There's been many, many things, but I think I grew up in an era where if you didn't buck in and do something, you never had an event to ride in. Neil, who won the award, or was inducted last year, would understand exactly what I'm saying. I had three unbelievable mentors. Obviously my father, probably one of the best horsemen we've ever had here in Australia. Produced 26 horses that went to Olympic Games. Was the backbone of many teams. Basically, for having a fall in Rome, let everyone know that Australia was actually involved in the equestrian sport. It was a little ironic that he was the worst performing rider in that team but got the most publicity. But it stood the sport in huge stead over the years. I was lucky enough to be associated with Sir Alec Creswick, who was one of our founders of the sport here in Australia, an unbelievable mentor. And thirdly, last year I had the honour of accepting the award for Colin Kelly. Colin Kelly put so much effort into the sport here in Australia over many, many years. Heavens knows how much money came out of his pocket to support the sport. And so it was instilled in me from a very early stage, like, Nicole, I'm the only surviving founding member of the Caramel Riding Club, which started in the early 50s. So we were already involved in running events and so forth. For me to be able to stand here with all the things behind me, sitting over here at the table is my wife. Without that support, you can never do it. So when I finished competing, I had some advice by an international judge just before the World Games in 1986. He said to me, you should be getting into your next career while you're still competing. So I started judging, became an international judge. So between the World Games in 86 and the Olympic Games in 88, I actually judged at the Gawler 3-day event, which was a predecessor to the Adelaide International now. There's been a Roycroft on the Equestrian Victoria Committee until 2 years ago, when I was retired because I'd served too much time, for the last 50 years. Instilled into us was that if you want the sport to operate, you've got to put back what you get out of the sport. And that's why I've had such a fantastic time in coaching. I've been involved in so many young people coming through the sport. An instance recently, one of my co-judges said, I've got to declare a conflict of interest here. I've actually had something to do with one of these riders. And I said, well, I suppose I have to declare a conflict of interest too, because I think there's one rider here I haven't had something to do with.
Well, you certainly have put a lot back into the sport, and this is fantastic recognition for your service. From an athletic point of view, you went to 3 Olympic Games. Was there a moment or a Games that was more special or stood out for you? I know they're each are different.
They are different. Well, I mean, Johnny and I, we went by boat to Tokyo. It was an experience. We were young guys, turned loose in a foreign city, and some stuff that went on there we just can't talk about.
Stays on the boat. We don't.
But I've got to say, once I stopped following the show jump circuit, when a family came along and started eventing, when I went to Seoul as an event rider, and standing in the middle of the arena at the opening ceremony, it just struck me that how lucky I was to be there, and I'd actually worked to get there. As a young person, you were successful and it came along. People say, did you aim to go to the Olympic Games? And it's always was instilled to us by our father. If you are successful, the rewards will come. And if you don't get picked, you don't have a disappointment. So I suppose the 88 Games was the thing. Biggest disappointment was not going to the Munich Games, when there were some very, very good horses about that would have been very, very competitive. And one of the horses, our selectors only picked 3 horses. You needed 3 horses for a team. One of the horses went lame and the team never took off. But I've been very fortunate to have 4 champion horses in my lifetime.
Congratulations on this honour, and I know that you are exceptionally proud and your family is exceptionally proud as well. So congratulations to you, Barry.
Thank you, Nicole.